Hello. There's a first time for everything, and you see by the title what's really about to go on. Hopefully me and my editing skills can keep up with everything that I'm trying to do right here, putting the fucking thing over here, and it'll probably end up over there, because the editing version of me fucking sucks. I'm surprised I can actually get through a thought on this thing without me cutting myself off. Like, that doesn't make any— Did the editing me just cut me off? Stop cutting me— Stop cutting me off! Regardless, we're gonna get into my top 10 albums of 2016. Now please, little disclaimer, do not be upset because your favorite rapper, your favorite artist, your favorite singer is not listed. Your favorite singer might not be as high up on the list as you want them to be. This is my top 10 list. You're free to make a video and make your own top 10 list. You can do that. It's not illegal. And it's not illegal for me to have an opinion. So before you get in your feelings, understand that you can do the exact same thing and you can have your own personal top 10. How does that sound? We're not gonna waste any time. Coming in at number 10 is Childish Gambino's Awaken, My Love. I really enjoyed the concept behind this album. It was very unique, and I'm sure it's something that's been done before, but the way it was done, and it was a first time for somebody like Donald, I just thought for me, it was a beautiful way to kind of pay homage to old school while mixing it with his new style influence and basically making an album for his child, you know? I mean, that to me was really cool, and it wasn't so complex to the point where he would need like a fucking rocket scientist to discover or decipher what it was that he was trying to say. Everything that's in there is kind of to the point with a little twist on it. It's got nice sounds to it. It's got a funkadelic inspiration to it. I think that if you're looking for something new to listen to, this is definitely a great place to start. Coming in at number 9 is gonna be Malibu by Paak. This was an amazing listen for me, a great way to step into Paak. A lot of people heard Malibu before they heard Venice. If you haven't heard Venice yet, I'd recommend going to check out that Venice project because it was definitely just as dope. In my opinion, Paak really does his thing with this project in terms of bringing an older feeling with his just own personality. He seems to be an old soul. He seems to be one of those guys that's a cool cat, one of the guys, older cats, hanging out on the block, smoking, drinking, having a good time. He seems to have that old spirit within him, and it definitely shows in his music. Everything that he's on, beautifully produced. He's been featured on a lot of things this year that also have been pretty good songs. He brings soul out of this thing. You wouldn't expect somebody of his age, don't want to sound discriminatory, but someone his age coming out with music like this is like, damn dude, like you grew up with that soul influence, and it's definitely apparent in this album. A lot of good beats on here. One of my personal favorites being Parking Lot. Definitely enjoyed that. That's probably my favorite song off Malibu. Coming in at number 8 is going to be J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only. Definitely enjoyed this project. It was very exciting for me to hear some new J. Cole. When you hear this album, you will instantly think, damn, J. Cole is definitely doing something that he hasn't done before. You'll listen to it, you'll get this feeling that Cole is in a totally different place than he's normally in. I mean, even when you hear 2014 Forest Hills Drive, it still sounds a lot different from that. It sounds like with each project Cole has been releasing, he's been getting progressively better or coming into his own as an artist, and I really can respect that. The concept of this album actually isn't from Cole's perspective. It's actually shit that he and his friend go through, and his friend just so happened to have passed away, and his friend had a daughter, and this is basically his friend's interpretation, you know, as a black male, having to grow up in a certain area, having to carry yourself a certain way. And this is a concept that you may not get until the very end of the album or after your second list. Definitely enjoy the concept behind this, paying homage to his fallen friend, also saying to his daughter, this is gonna be for your eyes only. And it just so happens that it mirrors J. Cole's actual life. It mirrors something that J. Cole is probably feeling himself. Thankfully, Jermaine is still here with us, but I definitely enjoyed the concept behind this thing. One of my favorite tracks on here being Neighbors, which drives home a very powerful message about even because the president jams your tape, even because you live in a suburban neighborhood now, even though you have a lot of money, you have a lot of success, a lot of fame, people still don't look at you like you're anybody because they're going to compare you to those same people they have no interaction with, but they see all the time and change with the TV screen. I love that message. Coming in at number 7, Frank Ocean with Blonde. We've been waiting 4 years for a project from Frank Ocean, and I definitely enjoyed this project. I've been anticipating this thing since Channel Orange, and Frank Ocean definitely delivers some of his best material with this project. I mean, he makes sure he lets you know, yeah, I kept you guys waiting for a very long time, but it's been for a reason. He's got a very, very interesting catalog of music in this one. a lot of different sounds, a lot of hardcore production, heavy hitters. One of my favorites being Pink Plus White. I went crazy over that song because the production value of it is just so enjoyable. Songs like Close to You, Self-Control, like they're all songs that have very nice, sweet production. It's not something that you're gonna listen to and be like, hey man, I really hated that or I really loved it. You're gonna listen to it and be like, this is interesting. He came at it with a new perspective, doing something brand new, something that I really feel like he hasn't been doing too much of before, which is experimenting with the way he makes music, and I definitely think he pulled it off with this project. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Isaiah Rashad's The Sun's Tirade. I definitely enjoyed this project, and at some parts I will agree with a lot of people, it gets slow, but you really feel like you're listening to somebody who is really trying to get you to understand the type of person that they are with their music. Isaiah Rashad is definitely an artist who has been experimenting with hip-hop. He's somebody that definitely delivers a mood with his music, and he also tells a bit of a story without boring the listener, in my opinion. This album, I think he comes at it from the perspective of he has something that he needs to say, but I don't think he always knows how to say it, and he knows that he doesn't know how to say it sometimes. That's why the album essentially is called The Sun's Tirade. Not only, you know, the fact that he grew up in Chattanooga, he also said and made mention that the album feels like one long ass rant, like one long ass tirade. So I definitely enjoyed this album. It has a decent amount of replay value in my opinion. Coming in at number 5 is Schoolboy Q's Blank Face LP. Now there was a lot of people that didn't like this album. Me personally, it was one of my favorites. I thought it was a redefining moment in what I would consider gangster rap. Schoolboy Q definitely had that dark undertone feel, but he definitely has some nice gritty bars, some nice things in there to get you to feel what it is that he was saying. Like on the tracks Ride Out that features Vince Staples that I'm still bumping to this day. Not too powerful on bars on that particular track, at least not for Q. One of his lines that I actually did like was, in a stolen expedition and your hood gives you the mission. Another track on here that I loved was Tukey Knows 2 and John Murr. Really beautiful production on both of those tracks. I thought that Q definitely incorporated a bit of himself, a bit of what his experience was. Nothing that it was too different from Oxymoron. In fact, a lot of people would prefer his previous project, but this to me was something that was a little bit more lively for Q. It was his definition of gangster rap in a more dark way, and it told a story from somebody, not always from his own perspective, but from the perspective of anybody who could be in that situation is the way I interpreted it. It told a story from the perspective of somebody who is wearing a mask, essentially, who doesn't really have an identity. That's why some of the tracks seem to repeat themselves with the subject matter, because it's told from the perspective of someone that doesn't have a backstory. Coming in at number 4, Do What Thou Wilt by Absol. You have to listen to this thing quite a few times to hear the bars that this man is spitting. Like, it'll take you about 2 to 3 listens to hear everything he said. Now, while I do agree that there are some tracks on here that are very hard to bump in the whip, there's a lot of tracks on here you're going to listen to and be like, damn, I can't believe he just put that together or said that the way he said it. Absol is definitely an underrated artist when it comes to just bar for bar. At it lyrically, he's definitely underrated, I feel, because we don't hear from him as much. But I definitely think he has the tendency to go off, and when he does, boy does he go off. Like on the tracks Huey New, Invocation, Drugs, Beat the Case featuring Schoolboy Q. I mean, he definitely has a lot that he wants to say, especially when it comes to female oppression and feminism in general. He definitely has a lot that he wants to touch on, and I definitely think he did it in an Absol kind of way, the way Absol would like to do it. He's got elements of Control System that also hit this album, so if you were a fan of Control System, I don't think this would be too far of a stretch for you to listen to and enjoy. He's just coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective. Coming in at number 3 has got to be Floss by Injury Reserve. This was one of my favorite albums that I actually got to listen to this year. Not only did they impress me with something I did not expect from them, I had never heard of Injury Reserve before, and listening to this album, I definitely didn't have any reason to doubt them or any reason to praise them because, as I said, I didn't hear them before. But when I heard that intro track, Oh Shit, boy, was the album oh shit throughout the entire album. I didn't think that these guys were going to be able to pull it off track for track, but they kept you interested, they kept you invested, they told a story, they kept the attention of the listener, and I just appreciated that so much. There were so many bars, there were so many witty responses, there was so much to appreciate with this album, and to understand that this isn't these aren't guys who've been in this for a very long time. These are kind of young guys, in my opinion, that have the idea of what hip-hop is supposed to be. They have that idea down. It's supposed to be live. It's supposed to give people energy. It's not supposed to be this dreary, just I don't really fuck with life kind of thing. It's supposed to be something that's gonna get you off your feet, that's gonna get you invested into the music. And if you listen to this thing, you are going to be connected to these guys. I guarantee you. No matter what the subject matter is, you will be invested into this album. I guarantee you that. Coming in at number 2. This is where it gets tough. Number 2, A Tribe Called Quest. Thank you for your service. We got it from here. If this isn't one of the greatest albums I've ever listened to, just not even just this year, just ever, in the history of everdom, this has got to be one of the most amazing projects as far as production, bar for bar, features. They just went crazy with this thing. I love the idea, the emotion, the material, the consideration for the listener. I love everything that they incorporated into this album. They come at this thing from the perspective of guys who know that they've done shit already. Like, they know people respect them. They know that. And they came in this not with the sense of, oh, we're the best in the game. Oh, we already know we're great. We don't really even have to try. Like, they didn't come at it like that. They knew this was going to be their final project. They knew they had to come with. And most of the time, you know, you have people who release these albums after years and years of being on a very long hiatus, and then they release new stuff and you don't really feel it because they thought that they were up here when really they were right here. They didn't get complacent is basically what I'm trying to say. They've been on their shit from the very beginning, and they even ended on a high note. I definitely recommend anybody check out this album. If you have not already, please do yourself a big fucking favor. This is one of the greatest hip-hop albums this year. Not even just this year, just of all time. And coming in at number 1, Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition. Danny Brown, it took me about 5 listens to fully appreciate this thing. It did. It took me 5 listens, but that's why I like doing my top 10 albums, and I'm gonna continue doing them at the end of each year. That's why I really enjoyed this thing. I didn't enjoy this thing just because Danny Brown has this unorthodox way of doing things. I enjoyed this because Danny Brown knows he's unorthodox, and he does it in such a way that gets you hype anyway. You're not weirded out by Danny Brown's music. You're actually more pumped up to listen to it because he gives it to you in a way that nobody else does. Half of the tracks on here sound like they could be straight out of a comic. You will listen to this thing and legitimately think, am I high right now? Am I doing drugs? There was one track on here that I didn't particularly understand during my first reaction to it, but then later after another couple listens I understood, hey, he's not talking about dance in the water and not get wet literally. He's talking about dance in the water and not get wet as in figuratively. Like, this dude is talking about living in a certain environment and not being affected by that environment or not doing what that environment expects you to do. He actually goes more in depth than you would expect from his appearance. I'm not saying I judge people by their appearance, but you can look at this guy and be like, hey, maybe he's on some bullshit. But when you listen to him, you have nothing but appreciation for the way he puts music together. And I definitely think that this album is ahead of its time. It's something that people aren't going to appreciate probably for the next 5 years even. I mean, this is a new step in hip-hop. This helped pave a way, in my opinion, for people to get into this style of doing hip-hop music. Not just rap. Danny Brown took his time with this thing. It wasn't like a super length with tracks. He shortened this thing down and made it sweet and simple. Most of the tracks on here are a length that you can listen to it, and it's still fresh. So by the time you're on to the next track, you might want to go back and listen to the previous track again because it was so short. Definitely one of the greatest projects I've ever heard, and especially a great starlight in Danny Brown's career. I definitely think that this is something that's going to make people look at him a different way because most people didn't expect it from him, and at least in my opinion. And with the track on there that was released prior to the album called Really Doe that features Earl Sweatshirt, I think Absol and Kendrick Lamar, it's definitely one of those tracks that delivers a darker kind of vibe, but also gives you this feeling of just, these motherfuckers are about to kill me. Danny Brown, you definitely did your thing. Alright, you guys, that's my top 10 albums of the year. Now I'm gonna give you my honorable mentions, the cuts on here and the albums that didn't actually make my top 10 list, but I still feel deserve a mention just out of sheer enjoyment and fulfillment of the tracks that I listened to this year and the albums I've listened to this year. I definitely enjoyed these projects on the side. Roy Wood's Waking at Dawn. If you can get past him sounding like The Weeknd, you're definitely gonna enjoy this project. It's short, it's sweet. I think it's only 9 or 10 tracks, and most of the tracks on here are tracks that are going to deliver a certain sound. You're going to enjoy it, in my opinion. Skepta's KONNICHIWA. This was an amazing project I feel that has been forgotten. I mean, it came out this year. I don't really hear anybody bumping it anymore like that. But honestly, if you have not listened to this project, I definitely recommend it. It's UK grime. It's grime music. It's dark, it's underground. If you haven't heard of Skepta, I definitely recommend you go check him out. There are tracks on here that are just so heavy hitting that you just need to hear them. Denzel Curry's Imperial. I enjoyed this album so much, and the only reason it did not make my top 10 is because a Tribe Called Quest swooped in and took that fucking spot. I wasn't gonna put Imperial at my number 3 spot, but I wasn't gonna put a Tribe Called Quest in. But then I listened to him and I'm like, damn, I gotta kick somebody else out now. Denzel Curry, I love you though. Your album was amazing. It's very aggressive, very in your face. You like hardcore music mixed in with a little bit of metal influence. You're definitely gonna like Denzel Curry. Mick Jenkins, The Healing Component. This is a must listen for not only Mick Jenkins fans, but anybody who's looking at concept ideas for albums. This dude essentially made an album about love and what his definition of it is. So if you like that, I definitely recommend checking this project out. Mac Miller's The Divine Feminine. He comes at this for the very first time in a very new perspective, a new light, and some will say it's a little simpy, and I will agree with that, but it's definitely a new step for Mac Miller, and I definitely enjoyed this project, especially during my first reaction to it. There's a lot of cuts on here. It's only a 10-track album. It's not that long. It definitely delivers soul and a nice vibe to go along with it. Coloring Book by Chance the Rapper. This wasn't as powerful as some of Chance's previous material, at least in my opinion, but it definitely has a lot of beautiful sounds. It's slight inspiration from the life of Pablo. You can hear from how some of the tracks are designed, but it's still classic Chance the Rapper. It's definitely very great on production. Chance delivers some bars, some great features on this thing, especially the one with Justin Bieber that, in my opinion, I just love. STONEY by Post Malone. I loved this project. There are still songs on here that I'm bumping. The only reason STONEY didn't make my list is because there was really no point to this album. It's really an album that's meant for summer. And I think if you have not listened to it, I would definitely give it a listen. There's so many catchy beats, a lot of catchy songs on here that you're probably going to enjoy back to back to back to back. You like Post Malone, you like kind of turn up music, you like a little guitar with your hip hop, you're definitely going to like this project. 24K Magic by Bruno Mars. Another album that would have made my top 10 list, but other things took priority. I definitely love Bruno Mars. I love his music. I love the inspiration that he maintains. If you don't really like soul, hip-hop, R&B influence, then I would recommend staying as far away from this project as possible. But if that's what you're into, I would definitely recommend giving this a listen. He did his thing on here. It's only 9 tracks, but it's amazing from start to finish. There's nothing on here I feel like you're going to dislike as an R&B or a hip-hop fan. There are tracks on here that are weaker than others, but for the most part, it stands strong as a cohesive project. Telephone by Noname. This project impressed me because I wasn't expecting to get such enjoyment out of an album or a mixtape from a female artist. Me knowing that she was from Chicago gave me a little bit of hope, but hearing her spit, hearing her deliver her bars, hearing her deliver the way she delivered just made me that much more of a fan. I mean, she wasn't trying hard. She wasn't saying that I need to go harder because I'm a female. She was just rapping and telling us about herself, and she did it in such a graceful, respectable way. If you like that Chance the Rapper kind of influence with the Chicago production behind it, you're definitely gonna like Noname if you're into female artists and you like hearing a new age, a new starlight in female rap that isn't there today. I mean, this girl can spit and she delivers some really, really great music. Production, amazing. Lyrics, great. Features, also well placed. People you probably haven't heard of but go really well on these tracks. Yes Lord by NxWorries. This is essentially an Anderson .Paak album, but Knowledge is producing it. It's awesome with collaboration from Knowledge, which is amazing. I mean, he actually released his own separate project not too long ago that you should listen to if you haven't heard it. But these two combining on a single project, you can hear nothing but soul, explosions of R&B, explosions of old school style music. There's so many tracks on here that even I bump to this day. I didn't expect to enjoy this thing as much as I did, but I definitely did. The Weeknd's Starboy. This was definitely an amazing listen for me. I enjoyed a lot of the tracks on here, although there are a couple of tracks on here that just seem to be so fillery and so repetitive that you feel like, didn't I just hear this song? There's a lot of tracks on here that are very strong, and the ones on here that you like are the ones that you're gonna love. But there are tracks on here that kind of sound very similar to the track that you might have just heard, and you might not want to hear that shit again. All in all, listening to this thing from start to finish is a very enjoyable experience. The Weeknd takes his sound and goes in a completely different direction with it. Not too far of a jump for the Weeknd, but it's something that I can respect him evolving as an artist. I definitely can look at this thing and go like, wow, man, he's definitely doing something different from everybody else. And last but not least is Travis Scott's Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight. Now, hearing Rodeo and going to this is definitely a bit of an adjustment. I mean, if you liked Rodeo, which was one of the greatest albums that Travis Scott has ever made, going to Bitsum isn't really gonna do that much for you. I mean, there are definitely tracks on here that are powerful, tracks on here that you're gonna enjoy more than others, but for the most part, it's not too crazy. But if you haven't heard Travis Scott in a while, you need something to listen to that's brand new, that's refreshing, that has a lot of cool features, that's got a new cool production behind it, I definitely recommend Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight. Definitely great production. And yeah, Travis Scott goes further with developing his own sound. All in all, this has been my musical experience for the year of 2016. I really enjoyed all of these projects. I hope you guys enjoyed my list. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you didn't, tell me why in the comment section down below. I know this is going to be a little bit of a debatable topic, my honorable mentions and my top 10 album, but hey, you feel free to make your own if you disagree with mine, or let me know in a comment down below why you disagree with mine, or let me know why you agree with mine, or let me know your top 10 and your honorable mentions down in the comment section below. I really enjoy seeing them. Thank you guys for watching. I'm not going to be making any videos until January 3rd of 2017, so this is the last video you guys are going to see from me in 2016. So I hope and pray that you guys enjoy your Christmas and your New Year's. I'm definitely going to enjoy mine. This video is going to be recorded probably on the 22nd or the 23rd. It's probably going to go up, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you guys enjoyed my list. If you didn't, fuck you. And if you did, I'm sorry. Don't fuck yourself. I wish you guys Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. And yeah, I'll see you in 2017. Peace out. Love you guys. 15,000 subscribers. Thank you. Really appreciate that shit, man. Really. Okay, I didn't thank you for 10,000, but I'm thanking you for 15,000. I appreciate you.